follow up just for a moment on these Fibonacci anions. Let me just read this little portion here.
From a book which I didn't write.
Which is from Giannis Pachos, Introduction to Topological Quantum Computation, in a chapter titled 4.4, example, Fibonacci Anions. In this final section, we present probably the most celebrated non-abelian anionic model-like Fibonacci anions. Its popularity is not only due to its simplicity and richness in structure, which supports universal quantum computation, but also to its connection to the Fibonacci series. In this model, there are only two different types of anions, the vacuum, 1, and the non-abelian anion, but they use the Greek letter tau, which is like phi, but the ancients used tau for tome, to cut, the cut, and of course atom would be the not cutting.
Indivisible.
Indivisible. Supposedly. The only non-trivial fusion rule is, now tomorrow when we do talk a little bit about greater and lesser and my approach to it in the history of Plato, we'll see that there is a golden ratio solution that's the greater 1.6180339, and there's what I would call the lesser, which is the one that we agree upon to be using for us, 0.6180339 on to infinity, of course. Here they use the greater version. The only non-trivial fusion rule is tau times tau, golden ratio times golden ratio equals 1 plus golden ratio, 1 plus tau. Again, the only way you can do that is you're using the greater version of the golden mean. The quantum dimension of tau can be obtained from, and they give you a formula which ultimately equals phi, where phi equals 1 plus square root of 5 divided by 2 is the golden mean. And of course, it's music to me that they're now beginning to use the language that we've used all along, and of course recognizing this number has been extensively used by artists such as the ancient Greek sculptor
and crackpots
Phidias or Leonardo da Vinci in geometrical representations of nature as it describes the ratio that is aesthetically most appealing, and so on. Okay, this notion of the most celebrated non-abelian anionic model, the Fibonacci anions, probably this notion of non-abelian, should we kind of deal with that a little bit now?
It's not essential.
Okay.
It's Henrik Abel was the one who discovered commutativity, non-commutativity, and things like that. And he's a very, very eminent mathematician in a country, from a country which at this time was a little bit backwater, and people have to go from there to the more lively and advanced places in Italy and France. It was Norway, the richest country in the world nowadays. But at the time, and there's a very, very famous prize, Abel prize.
Right.
Yeah. So sometime, as you say, people consciously or unconsciously, I'm sure he is unconsciously, they use cryptic language in order to force the feeling of the listener that you're standing about in front of a Superman. There's somebody in jest. He was actually the head of the Royal Society, and who was a friend. He was the editor-in-chief of the Royal Society journal. Not the Royal Society, but the journal. And he said, we publish, Mohamed, we publish only paper we don't understand. Not the paper we understand, we reject it. So it's exaggeration to say sometimes. Sometimes you have to exaggerate to bring the point. But the golden mean is written in all clarity in the book of Alain Cornet. This is the most important equation as far as I'm concerned in the whole book. It's strange when Alain Cornet went applying the whole machinery, powerful machinery, to the standard model to show them how to do it. He did not use it. And I'm sure this is because of very powerful friend of his, very sincere friend of his, who are real only physicists, and said, don't use that more than that, or you will be subject to ridicule and we will call you numerologist and crackpot. I'm alleging that now. I'm alleging that. Because I was astonished that he did not use his own machinery when he applied to the standard model. He tried to remain conservative in order. You see, sometimes, dogs don't eat dogs, and dogs don't live together with cats, and cats don't like other creatures. There are communities. And in order to live in peace with community, nobody out of that community is allowed in. It's a little bit, it's not totally democratic. So, although Alain Cornet, in my opinion, one of the greatest physicists in the world nowadays, but physicists don't accept him completely. They respect him, they like him. He has the Field Medal, which is
the field
almost Field Medal, almost like a Nobel Prize. It's even given only every 4 years. Nevertheless,
to the younger,
they smile a little bit at him and say, well, he is not really a physicist, they say.
But to call an anion, which itself is a exotic type of particle, presumably, a non-abelian, what is that suggesting?
That is suggesting it doesn't obey the algebraic rule, the normal one, but
of the
certain algebraic rule connected to abelian group. It's called abelian group.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's enough.
That's
for,
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So another paper, Einstein-Kaluza combined space-time as the optimal and simplest framework to compute and understand dark matter, pure dark energy, and measurable ordinary energy. In this rather short communication, we hope to draw attention to a new and rather exciting finding, which we think represents an important and non-trivial insight into the current dark energy and dark matter cutting-edge research. In short, we found that a combination of the basic invariant of Einstein, dimension equals 4, and Kaluza, dimension equals 5, space-time manifold, is the simplest and optimal setting to perform computation and gain insight into the major cosmological problem of dark matter, accelerated cosmic expansion, missing dark energy of the universe, as well as the corresponding measurable ordinary energy density which was found, to the surprise of the entire scientific community, to be a mere 4.5% of what was expected, based on some of our otherwise most cherished and trusted theories. In particular, we must stress the importance of the physical insight gained about the source of the difference between the three distinct categories of energy as afforded by the new space-time picture. Roughly speaking, in fact, this may be some of what you're saying, our new conception of space-time considers a five-dimensional Kaluza space-time manifold effectively encasing the four-dimensional Einstein space-time. In addition, we insist on a self-similarity of the Einstein interior of the Kaluza space-time, so that in the first iteration, the combined dimension of Kaluza cobordism of Einstein's manifold would be given by the following truncated continued fraction, where the dimension, Einstein dimension plus 1 over the Einstein dimension, equals 4 plus 1 plus 1/4, which ultimately equals 5.25. letting the iteration go on to infinity, however, one finds the dimension equals 5 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 over to infinity, which equals 5.236067977, which equals 5 plus phi, lesser version now, the version we use,
to the power of 3.
to the power of 3. 5 plus phi to the power of 3.
I think this I can, without any calculation, explain in a very simple way, without any minimal theoretical thinking. We accept Einstein. He gave us the general theory of relativity and special theory of relativity, and that our space-time is four-dimensional. Yeah, but this is not enough, because we have to insist also, no matter what point we take in this space, this point should be also four-dimensional, or it wouldn't be really we're living in, because after all, we can shrink like the incredibly shrinking man, become so small, and then suddenly we find we are not living in four-dimensional. No, everything has to be four-dimensional. So really, when you translate that to a continued fraction, you want to live in a four-dimension plus 1 over four-dimension plus 1 over four-dimension, and you go on like that indefinitely. When you count this, very easy, you will realize space-time is not just simply four-dimension, as Einstein done. This is a smooth space-time, rudimentary and simple. The real space-time, with every point in it four-dimensional, would be 4 plus the golden mean to the power of 3. So that would be fractal. Fractal Einstein. Yes, but in all that we have no spin. And spin and time are extra 2 degrees of freedom. So if you count for time by intuition, 1 dimension, then everything you see in nature, this garden there, they look fractal. You have a tree and then a branch, and the branch there's leaves. But when you take the leaf and look at it, you find it look like a tree with branch again, and so on and so on. So take time out to get a statical picture, it become our world, fractal world. So our world is not 3-dimensional. It's 3 plus phi to the power 3, because it's 4 plus phi to the power 3 minus the time dimension, make it statical, becomes 3. And you can describe almost anything. Now, to really describe everything, you have to have a freedom of the so-called spin half. Not a boson, but a fermion. In this case, you need to add 1 degree of freedom to the 4 plus. You get 5 plus 5 to the power 3. 5 remind you immediately, that is why Kaluza and Klein said it's not enough 4. And Einstein took 3 years proofreading the paper of Kaluza in order to grant it to be published or not. In the old times, it's more democratic, by the way, than now. In the old times, you don't really send your paper to a journal to publish. You send it to somebody accepted as an eminent, great scientist who recommended to the journal. This is the etiquette of scientists at that time. So Kaluza, who was a very famous professor of mathematics, not of physics, he had this theory about 1 more dimension, and he wanted to publish it. He knew, of course, of Einstein. He sent it to Einstein. And Einstein kept 3 years writing to him, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. he could not swallow it, that there was more dimensions than him. But Einstein was fair enough after 3 years. He said to him, now I have exhausted all my objection, and I really find no other objection to say. So I'm going to allow it to be published. And he sent it for publication. It was published. Kaluza was only 5. But really, as I reasoned now, you have to use a fractal Kaluza. The fractal Kaluza is the 4 plus the golden mean.
To the third.
It's plus 1, it becomes 5. And this is the theory which gives you everything correct.
Was there an intermediate stage where they went 5 plus 1/4, and they
No, I was
something
this pedagogic. I was trying that the people don't get shocked.
Okay.
I want to tell you this is iteration. And really, in reality, you can never get it that much because your measurement have to be truncated. You cannot go on measuring with infinite precision. It doesn't exist. And the great hero of science, as Toft said correctly, are not the theoretician, it's the experimentalist.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, next paper. The looped light of the triple slit real experiment as a confirmation for the extra dimensions of quantum spacetime and the reality of dark energy. In the abstract, looped light in a recent sophisticated real 3-slit experiment is interpreted as a strong justification of the old theoretical Peano-Hilbert spacetime model of Ord and Naschie. So Garnet Ord and Mohamed Naschie. This in turn entails the existence of extra fractal dimensions and consequently of real dark energy density in full agreement with previous analysis, as well as accurate experimental measurements and observations of COBE, WMAP, and the Type 1a supernova.
All the 3 got the Nobel Prize for the experiment, but for total theoretical understanding, there was nothing at that time whatsoever. And they admit that. But it's a great step that reality is like that. You remember I said there was a connection with the golden mean because Garnet used a space-filling curve. A space-filling curve is the Hilbert-Peano curve. And that was the model Garnet started with. And I took over the model of Garnet and I made it more sophisticated or clearer because Garnet was very ingenious and quickly got to the result. The result he got to it, he jumped so many things which he considers them trivial. I didn't. I went
methodically.
And he said, now I understand my model even more. He said, and I couldn't believe it. Here they make not 2-slit experiment, but 3-slit experiment and prove that light move like that. Everybody knew that light go in a straight line. Yeah? And Einstein was so mad to take the picture of corpuscle, that means photon, little bullets, that light is bullets, but at least a bullet go also in a straight line when you shoot it. But here, the light was looping, and was looping in a way like a Peano-Hilbert curve, which was the first model I worked on when I entered into all this thing following Garnet. So this was amazing. This was amazing. And because of this connection to the golden mean, and because of the connection of the golden mean to the zero set, the empty set, and the degree of emptiness of empty sets, I was able to calculate the dark energy and the real energy. And via the heterotic theory of Gross, I even discriminate between pure dark energy, and all this came now through an experiment. Through an experiment, all connected by the fact that now you can prove that light doesn't go in it go and turn, go, turn like that. Amazing.
So is the golden mean rooted in the curvature of the piano Hilbert curve?
With gross simplicity, we have to make things as simple as possible, but no more, as Einstein say. But you could say that. You could say that. But we have to make the analysis to show this. But this is the essence of it. Here is an experiment again with light, which say for sure that the model which was used by Garnet is definitely correct.